Hey, what's going on, everybody? And on today's episode of Davey's Tech Stuff, I am talking about cameras and all the different choices and what in the hell am I going to use next? Okay, so I came to a decision not too long ago that I wanted to... I'm trying to open something. I should have done this first because I always do stuff like this. I wanted to upgrade my camera equipment. And one of the ways that I can upgrade it is getting a better, actual camera. Now, my webcam, if you are not aware, is a Logitech C615. It does do 720 up to 1080. I don't use 1080, I use 720 for all my stuff with it. And I could go to a C920. Those are down to about $50 to $60, which is incredible since when I put them on my wish list, they were like $80, $90. And so for general recordings and doing stuff with this guy back here, that's fairly good. I can live with it for certain things, like stuff that I'm doing around the computer and so on and so forth. So it's good for certain purposes. Now, I want better quality. Now, the ultimate goal of this channel and Davey's Adventures in Gaming is to one day have them both be at 1080 60 frames per second. It is much easier to do 1080 60 frames per second with a good camera, just a decent camera, than it is to just go out and buy a better computer at this point in time. It's just not economically feasible for me, financially feasible even. And I went and looked up a number of different options for cameras. Now, I'm not going to really worry about getting 60 frames per second with a webcam. That just seems like it's really pushing it, and I haven't seen a real financial solution. I don't even know if it's possible, to be honest. It might be, I just don't know. It's not something I'm worried about. If I'm doing something with this camera, it's probably going to be in the future just for live streams. Now, there are basically three kinds of cameras I can attempt to go with. Okay, sorry, I thought I heard something and I thought I was going to have to stop temporarily. There are three kinds of cameras that I could potentially go with. There's DSLR, which are your standard high-tech, for the most part, photography cameras. Many of the more recent models in the last few years have a 1080 60 frame per second option, and they seem pretty solid. And if I want to do photography in addition to vlogs with them, they're a good option. They still are. So I had two different Nikons that I was looking at because Canons didn't have a lot of the combination of features that I wanted. There were a couple of things I was looking for with these cameras. I want 1080 60 frames per second, and I want to be able to have a screen that flips out that I can see to set it up properly. I don't want to have to constantly be recording and testing and shifting. I want to be able to adjust on the fly. The Canons, the ones that had the flip out screens, were insanely expensive and just wasn't really working for me. And even some of the more recent ones didn't have a 60 frame per second option at 1080. My ex has a Coolpix L310, which it's a nice camera, but its HD recording is not very HD. It's very pixelated. In fact, here, take a look. Okay, now you can see one of the downsides, one of the flaws to the use of this Nikon camera that I already have here, this Coolpix L310, is one, you're not hearing my audio very good, and two, it's just, the quality is just, it's grainy, it's a little fuzzy. I think it's pixelated is the word I'm looking for. It's pixelated, so it's going to be hard to hear me, and I'm not going to be as clear as I can, and that is why this is not a great long-term solution for what I'm trying to do here. So obviously, as you just saw, there's a few problems there. One, it's pixelated. Two, the audio is really bad. And so it's just not going to really do me very good in the long run for quality. I'd rather use the webcam for now, or my phone. My phone has better quality. But again, the mic pickup is really an issue with these. So I went ahead and looked up for the cheapest options, pretty much under $500, with a flip-out screen and 1080 60 frames per second, the Coolpix P610 and the D5300 base. Again, both of these were Nikons. From what I saw, the videos on YouTube that were up using these cameras, they did a pretty decent job, and they looked pretty solid, but at least with the D5300, zooming in, it was not handling very well. It was losing a lot of its sharpness on zoom in, and that's something that I'm not really that concerned with, but it does kind of make me go, maybe not. So I move on to the next tier of cameras, which are mirrorless, and those are much more expensive for the most part, but they are increasing in popularity, and their quality, their picture quality and video quality is improving drastically. The only mirrorless camera that I've really seen is that really makes me really caught my eye, and this was because of a review I read, the Panasonic Lumix GH3. This ranges in price pretty wildly. I found one on eBay for about $650. The newer ones, though, are around $1,000. And the GH3 is actually pretty hard to find, it seems. The GH3K is, I don't know if it's a newer model. I haven't done enough research on this. If you know more about this, by all means, correct me, tell me, whatever you need to do. Anyway, that's a more expensive option, but it might be a better option in the long run, especially with the GH4 being out. That seemed like a really spectacular camera. The quality, the video quality was outstanding. 1080, 60 frames per second. Just buttery smooth, just really, really good quality. Now you compare that with the Nikon. The Coolpix P610 was about $340 on Amazon. I could probably find it for under that on eBay. The D5300 is $496 on Amazon for just the base. This doesn't come with anything extra. Again, could probably find it cheaper on eBay, as with most things. But I think if I'm going to go with a high-end camera in the long run, it's probably going to be mirrorless, and it probably will be the Panasonic, the GH3 or GH4. But that's way down the road, and that's something for another time. For the time being, though, little handy cams. Those are the third option that I really was looking at. They're little camcorders, little handy cams. I know a lot of professional people probably shun them, but they do a pretty good job. I'm not doing low light shooting. I mean, this is not low light. This is actually middle of the afternoon light. So, I mean, you can find them. You could find them pretty cheap. And I actually this is originally going to be what should I do, but I've already made a decision, and the decision is on its way. So I went ahead and looked at these little handy cams, and Sony had some decent ones, but Canon seemed to be superior in just about any way that I looked at it. Now there's a series of models, and these are the Vixia models that I was looking at. The first one that I looked at was the Vixia HF-R500, $200 to $225 on Amazon and eBay. Downside, no image stabilization, which isn't that big of a deal since it would probably be on this guy most of the time, or the larger tripod that I got. It has a cousin, the HF-R50. Now the difference between these two, hello dogs, is the HF-R50 is Wi-Fi enabled and has 8 gigabytes of flash memory. Now I don't need the flash memory. I have a memory card that I can put in and use no problem. But this guy was so much cheaper, and I'll come back to this one in a minute. Obviously the newer line, the Vixia HF-R700, HF-R70. Looking at them, the video, the bit rates, the video sensors, they're all the same. There's no noticeable upgrade between the HF-R50 and the HF-R70 and R500 and R700. There's no major difference in the specs that I could see. The HF-R50 and 500 both do 1080 60 frames per second. The R50 and R70 both do Wi-Fi and 8 gigabytes of flash storage. The 500 and 700, they all basically use the same line of specs, and I don't even need the Wi-Fi. It really came down to, I found an HF-R50 refurbished on Canon's website for $99.99. Why the hell not, right? I mean, that's going to give me 1080 60 frames per second, and from what I've seen of the video quality, it's pretty good. I'm not going to be using it very often in low light, so I'm not worried about low light recording. And it's going to be easy to carry around if I want to drag it around with me and just do dumb actual vlog stuff, and it'll hold me over. That's the key. $100 camera to hold me over until I can be in a position down the road to get a more expensive one. And I will, if I get the chance. I will go for the more expensive one because I do want to do, unboxings, and I do want to do, special kind of videos where, the quality is much better and much more intense. Now, somebody out there is probably going, well, you don't need to do 1080/60 for vlogs and that kind of stuff. You don't need it. You're right, I don't. But I want consistency across the channels, and this is the first step to get that consistency, is to go ahead and go this route. So what I want to do is hear from you watching this. What do you think? What other options would you say I could possibly go with? Like I said, the HF R50 is already purchased. It's on its way. It should be here within a week, and I will be testing and doing some stuff with it to see what it's like. But what do you guys think? What kind of cameras do you use? I know some people out there use GoPros. I've looked at GoPros. They're nice action cameras, but the new GoPros are like $300-400, and for that much, D5300, $496, can do this 1080/60 frames per second. I'm not doing action filming. I'm not going to be doing that. And that camera, I could take pretty good, spectacular pictures. For a few hundred more, the Lumix GH3. I saw video clips using this camera. They were outstanding. The quality was very good. I feel like that's a pretty solid choice, but maybe you know of another camera that you would prefer. Maybe you have a Canon that you think I would be better off investing in down the road. Or maybe there's a Samsung, or maybe there's any number of these. Olympus is another one that comes to mind. But these are the ones that I looked at primarily. These are the ones that I considered. I'll try to edit this in a manner that you can actually see examples of these cameras. I'm not promising anything because that takes more work than maybe I actually want to put into this. But all these are easy to search for on the internet. I'll put the links to the pages that I found for these on Amazon. The Panasonic one might be a little trickier. I might have to dig for that one a little bit, but you'll be able to see these. You'll be able to see what I was looking at, and you can see why I maybe went the way that I went for now. Like I said, the R50 is a short-term solution. It is not going to be the camera that I would be using if I wanted to get into more professional recording, but it'll do the job, and that's really what I need right now. I want 1080/60 FPS. That'll do the job. So that's it in a nutshell. That's what I wanted to get out here and talk about and do a video on. You saw the quality of the camera that I'm using. You see the quality of this. You've seen the quality of my cell phone. Now you can go ahead and take a look maybe and see the quality of what I'm looking at. And again, if you have suggestions, send them to me. Leave them in the comments, or send them to me at Twitter. My email is in here. Just send me your suggestion. Send me your suggestions. That's it. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time on Davey's Tech Stuff.